Hello, hello, hello. I am the Dungeon Minister, and I am here with Yang and with the Delver, and we are the Nerd Council of Doom. Gentlemen, welcome to my hastily arranged, because I forgot to put it on my calendar, live stream event.
Well, that's fine,
Well-
Father. We forgive you.
We were just
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's great to have you. We were just discovering
Yeah.
that Bill is actually has been streaming his entire life, so which is good to hear. And there
I had
he
to turn
goes.
off my monitor. Sorry,
All right.
I didn't realize I had the actual stream up on the PC over there, so I had to shut off the monitor. Anyway, I'm sorry. You were taking my name in vain, I believe, Padre.
Yes, just mentioning that you've been streaming your entire life.
Yes, I have. I was one of the first children yet to be born who was viewed via ultrasound in Atlanta all the way back in 1970. So I was literally being live streamed for an audience back in the before times, back 54 years ago.
That's why you take to it like a fish to water.
Exactly. I've always had a camera on me of some stripe. So
I'd say, while we're on the topic of Bill and his younger days, much younger in that case, is that the boys all take violins. We were at the violin school this morning, and yet again I ran into the kid who looks just like a young Bill Sylvie. Not only the face, the hair, the way he carries himself, his sense of humor. It could be you.
he
I
has
don't
my
know
condolences.
12 or 13 years ago if you were up in Canada drunk or something. But the kid has a strong
I
resemblance.
have a girlfriend. She's from Canada. You wouldn't know her.
Anyway,
You should take a bag of dice with you and see if he knows what to do with it.
if he does, it's
Yeah, exactly. Just take a copy of Keep on the Borderlands out of your briefcase and say,
Yeah.
how does this make you feel?
Eternity
So
confirmed.
if I give you these, make a character. You know, if he knows, roll 4d6, drop 1. It's a lock for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Well, gentlemen, because I am so entirely with it today, clearly, I think I'm going to, in my infinite, self-possession and control and wisdom, step back and say, what are we talking about today?
Well, I'm going to jump right in and say, because I am wearing some Atlas swag here, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Iroh's Delectable Tea or Deadly Poison. Oops. Iroh's Delectable Tea or Deadly Poison t-shirt that I got for Christmas.
Nice.
I am going to say, let's talk about Atla. Yang, did you see the first episode?
I saw all 8 episodes.
You binged it, you monster.
That's
okay.
Right.
I'm
dedicated to the council.
Dungeon Minister, we're trying to pull him into the Avatar: The Last Airbender fandom slowly but surely. We will be this time next year, Dungeon Minister. You'll be one of us. You'll be talking about, well, what I want to know is when he was channeling Kyoshi's power, was he, that's you in a year.
I have to warn you. I have a very contrarian personality. When Forrest Gump was winning Oscars, we were going to go see it, and I decided to stay home because everyone was talking about it.
Okay. Well, we got to approach this from the other. Well, you know what, Dungeon Minister, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's clearly it's not for you. Then I wouldn't bother. You're not going to like it. Don't see it.
No, we got to go the family route. Your kids will love it. Maybe not for you, but your kids are going to love it. You should watch it with them. It's a family thing.
So I watched the first one, and I give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Costuming is on point. It's like literally like that is the mind's eye vision of what the costuming looks like. Sets, very good. Props. Believe it or not, I only have one gripe about the props, and that's Aang's glider. Aang's glider looks like something you'd get in a Happy Meal. That glider has like a 6-foot wingspan, and the one on the show looks like, well, my kid wanted to be Avatar for Halloween, so I just got a broom and a coat hanger and wrapped some orange tissue paper around it. And I said, "There's Aang's glider, honey." So yeah, the glider failed. The special effects vary between like top shelf. This is what you expect from a high budget production, and hey, that thing you're doing on the PS4, can we just green screen that in?
No,
because that'll work. So special effects were very mixed.
Almost like The Witcher, if people remember that season 1. Like, some were great, some were like, ooh.
Yeah. You can tell where, like, it's not chronological either, because there's a scene when Katara is trying to call up a column of water, and the water effect is like straight out of like the water effects you'd see in Grand Theft Auto 5. That's not a compliment, by the way. For a video game, it's amazing. For something that you want to sit and watch on TV, it's like...
I like that you gave the number, the addition. It wasn't just Grand Theft Auto, but specifically 5.
Yeah.
Nice touch.
So the music is good. It's serviceable. Acting, it varies. The focus is on child actors, so it's going to be a little wooden. You can get like someone in their late teens to voice an 11-year-old cartoon character and just say, okay, just pitch your voice up just a little bit, and they're seasoned actors and it works. But putting an 11-year-old in the role of an 11-year-old, you're gonna get some stilted acting. But in the overall, I thought the fidelity to the source material was very good. I'm bracing myself because the showrunners have straight up said, we changed this, and this, and I'm ready for disappointment. And the fact that the original creators parted ways with them over some of their changes.
Yeah. Cool.
So there may be
not a good sign.
No, there may be a watch with the sound off for the visual spectacle point coming. But again, I watched episode 1 and I was more visually impressed by what I saw than story-wise, but story-wise was still good. And like I said, I give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Yang?
Yeah. If it had a big sin, it's that it's kind of mid. There's a few overall problems with it. One is the original Avatar: The Last Airbender was, I believe, a 22 episode season. Now these were half-hour episodes, but you're still condensing it down into 8-hour episodes. So that's 16 hours versus 22. So you're missing some of the things which in the beginning season is character development. So we're just kind of like skipping the highlights. Overall, it was pretty good. I agree with the acting. Some of those actors are better than others. Unfortunately, Aang is not one of the better ones. But he'll grow into it. And this does sort of bring a little bit of a problem with having real actors versus cartoon actors. If we can go by the Stranger Things model, by the time the kid who's doing Aang here in season 1, by the time they finish the story, he'll be on his first divorce. So It's gonna look
Ouch.
weird when Team Avatar is like in their 30s. Um,
Come on,
At least
but
the
come on,
the-
Sokka. We have to stop Fire Lord Sozin. You're like,
at least
you know, I
the Harry
definitely,
Potter kids had the Harry Potter kids could. I mean, that they were supposed to get older.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They started at 11 too.
So I agree with you about the special effects. For me, the two things that stuck out the most were the characters of Momo and Appa. So Momo is a winged lemur. So it's a lemur that flies. But whoever made it, if you think back to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and they released the clip of Sonic that everybody freaked out about and didn't want, and they had to say, "We're sorry. Let's go back and redo all this animation with Sonic." This character of Momo looks like the before Sonic picture.
Oh no.
He
Oh
he
no.
is absolutely frightening. Like Momo, if you have kids, like you'd want to get them a stuffed Momo, and then the other one is Appa, which is a bison that flies. You know, you would want to get stuffed toys of those. These things, you'd be like, "Ooh, no." So those were the worst of the special effects. For me, part of the problem is when they're using their powers, it's very similar to the problems with the Iron Fist TV show, where so this whole show, Dungeon Minister, the way they use their powers is they use like kung fu moves, and then the powers come out of that. And for each element, there's a different kind of kung fu that people do. Clearly, none of these people. Well, some of the extras look like maybe they got people from like kung fu schools, but the main actors, you know, they probably gave them like a 1-day tutorial on the set. So a lot of the moves like don't look sharp and stuff. So a lot of the battle scenes don't come off nearly as cool as the actual cartoon did.
No,
Um,
it's like in 80s, 90s pop music where the singer would be up dancing and they'd have dancers behind them. The dancers behind them were actually dancers. Right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
apart from like Michael Jackson, the backup dancers were showing up the talent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I won't get into too many spoilers for the Dungeon Delver, but in terms of some of the things that people were talking about that were feared, one is there's this character of Sokka who is the oldest boy of this group. I think in the show he's like 16, and in the show he was kind of sexist, like girls can't do this, girls can't do that, and he gets shown up by a bunch of girls over the course of the show, and through that, you know, he really reevaluates his stand, and he's like, oh, you know, maybe I was wrong about this, maybe girls can do a lot more than I thought, and he has to be more introspective about what his role on this team is. And they said, well, we're dropping that because it doesn't resonate with modern audiences. Now, for me, that's weird because in an age where we're supposed to be so concerned about, you know, gender equality and stuff like that, why don't you have someone who's not for that, you know, get shown up that he's wrong? The problem is a lot of his character, there's like those moments where he's sort of goofed on and like put down, and like it's through that he makes the change. Well, he still gets goofed on. You know, people are still putting him down, but just now he's not sexist.
So
So
there's no
it's
reason.
not. Well, it's more humiliating versus like he's getting a comeuppance.
Right.
You know, um, so that's there, but it's not as bad as I would thought. And there's another thing with him. So his mother died when he was young, and his father went with a bunch of other warriors to go fight in this 100-year war. And he was the oldest boy in the village. And before he left, his father was like, "Okay, you're the man of the village now. It's your job to keep people safe and whatnot." And this was at like 13 years old.
Mhm.
So one thing that they only touched on a little bit in the original cartoon is like how much of a toll that would take on someone, and how that would lead them to like sort of have these sexist issues. Because he's like, well, it's my job. I'm a man. I got to do this. And they, in the live action, they do bring that up a bit more, you know, about like, well, he's under a lot of pressure to keep everyone safe, to keep everyone fed. He's responsible if this enemy nation comes to attack. And so I give them an A+ on that area. They did a real good job with that. They did keep the character of Zuko's backstory pretty much like it was on the original show. So that was one thing that they indicated they were going to change, but I guess in the end they didn't, which is excellent. He had daddy issues.
Yeah. And I will say this is a minor nitpick, but this comes up in any quote unquote epic fantasy cartoons. Animating is hard, and animating is expensive. Well, I mean, it is up to the point of like 10 days ago when there's a new AI that's out that you can literally say, make this movie and give it details and it will make a movie. We can talk about that in a minute. But the fact is, in an animated cartoon, if you say, like, pick any cartoon you have ever watched other than Akira or Ghost in the Shell, and find me a scene in a city, a town, or a village that has more than a couple of people in it. So when the Fire Nation in the first episode of both the animated and the live action, when they show up at Sokka and Katara's village, in the animated show, there's like 8 people there. There's like 4 toddlers, Sokka, Katara, Grandma, and like one other adolescent. It really, and the whole idea that that Zuko showed up with an entire assault landing ship full of Fire Nation warriors to shake them down is a little ridiculous. And it's the same when they travel to the northern water tribe. Here's this grand city, and there's maybe 15 people you ever see in it. So with a live action, you could just fill places with extras. So it's a little more alive in that sense, because you don't have to animate a ton of extraneous characters who aren't going to say or do anything, versus go over to costume, get yourself a sealskin parka and stand back there and don't say anything, or walk from left to right carrying this bundle of sticks wrapped in leather, and it looks a little bit more alive, if you will, in that respect. And so I appreciated seeing a world that seemed less like a background painting and more like a living place.
Yeah, that was definitely nice. I think one of the other things about the show in general is the tone is a little uneven, especially at the beginning. They were talking about they're going to make changes, based on the age of the viewer. So the original cartoon was really aimed at kids like 10 to 12, whereas I think they were trying to get this up in like the 14 to 16-year-old range. So they've sort of done that a little bit, but to me, part of the problem was there's some of the stuff, especially in the first season, that was very kind of like silly Billy humor, that when you sort of age it up, it almost doesn't seem appropriate. There's an episode with where Aang meets one of his old friends, and it almost feels off kilter, based on them trying to age it up a little. But by the end of the season, they sort of even that out, and it works pretty well. Now, in the original cartoon, seasons 2 and 3, like, it progressively gets more serious and more mature as the story goes along. So I've got high hopes for the next few seasons.
Excellent, man. Like I said, I have only seen the one, so I definitely, I want to see how it's going to develop. And it's like, if it's not good, I still have the cartoon. So I'm entirely okay with with whatever they bring. And by the way, this has nothing to do with anything. If I could just interject, for those of you out there, we have a pretty good audience. We got like what, 25 people in chat, Dungeon Minister?
Oh, it's pretty good.
22
Yeah.
at the moment. 22.
Okay, yeah. But anyway, guys, show Dungeon Minister some love. There's some supers in there for him, okay? Guy has a channel. Guy does videos. Throw some supers in there for Dungeon Minister, please.
Oh, thank you.
Please. You're welcome. And if you haven't, click subscribe. You're very close to 2K subs.
I
DM.
am. I was thinking I've got to make a video saying what I'll do when I get to 2,000.
Are you gonna? Oh no, you've already done an in real person convention.
I don't know. I'll give away something. I'm thinking maybe one of the kids.
There you go. Well, don't put my name in the hat. I have done that already, so I've got the 2, and that's just fine. Grumpy Old Slan says run a second convention.
It's happening.
Yeah.
October
And yet-
25th through 27th.
I wish I could be there. I honestly wish I could be there. Let me just throw out an idea. Claricon South. Just saying, warmer weather.
Sure.
Hey, Squirrel Hermit. There you go, bud.
Oh, bless the squirrel.
But anyway,
No.
so yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's a must watch. If you're gonna get an Avatar, make your entry point the cartoon. But yeah, it's at least so far to my taste, with one episode, I would say the first episode is at least worth your time. Yang, you say it evens out by the end. So yeah, it's
pretty good. And I would make one other statement about the show. I think these days there's a lot of questions on, is this really something that I would let my kids watch? And to me, this series is definitely something, if you've got kids 9 and up, this is perfectly fine for them to watch. There's some love interest, but it's nothing more than you would see in like a 1950s TV show. So it's good.
Excellent. So you've had let's see, 22 minutes to think, Dungeon Minister. What do you got for us? What's going on? What's the haps?
Oh, well, I was just trying to follow anything that was happening in the what's it called? The Last Airbender conversation. So I'm a little fuzzed. In terms of things that well, I mean, I already did put a plug in for Claricon 2 happening at the end of October. And I'm at that point now in the preparation for it where I'm nervous about who's going to respond. Last year I was worried that like 3 people would show up. This year I'm worried that too many people will show up. But so I'm putting in plans for like, okay, what happens if it goes up and up and up and up, and I have some possibilities for breakout and second spaces and things like that, because I would not want to say no, we're not, we've got to cap it, because that just seems counterproductive. But yeah, so anyway,
I might make it up to it this year.
That'd be brilliant. Love to see you.
Rub my face in it.
But no, well, I mean, we will all, those of us who are too far north to come south, we'll all send our best wishes when BillCon happens. And
what is this BillCon? Is there some kind of BillCon that's happening? I don't know about this BillCon. Now, the block, the Great Overland Gaming Convention, will happen when I hit 10,000 subs, which will never happen. So I'm safe in saying that I'm going to do that. So I'm not at all concerned about having to do what you've done, because I'm never going to hit that lofty number.
I don't know. Just give it 1 or 2 more massive cock-ups from the world of RPG publishing, and it might.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Anyone listening to this stream, if you haven't subscribed to the Dungeon Delvers channel, go do it now. At 10K subs, you will be obligated contractually to provide an in-person con. And if you have like a grandma who has a YouTube channel, go click subscribe on her channel. If you got kids, go do them. The sooner we get to 10K, the sooner we get to see the wizard hat in person.
There you are. And when he gets to 15,000, he has to name it BillCon. That's
I know
the rules. I don't make the rules. I just report the rules.
Yeah, in fact, you just did. There's something in this book that you're fond of about lying, Dungeon Minister. I'm not.
No word of a lie. No word of a lie. That's a fine print. You just
and speaking of subscriptions, Yang will come and paint your house when he hits 1K subs. So everybody, subscribe to Yang Yan Zhao. So do that. I've got some home improvements that need doing. So, yes.
Brush is not included.
Brush is not included. He'll just stick his hands in the paint bucket and just smear it on. Yeah. But anyway, yes, please subscribe to Yang Yan Zhao's channel as well. So that is that's Avatar.
You mentioned AI and movies. Where do people find these things? Because all I can find is something that produces really, really shabby pictures of people with 18 fingers.
So the model is out right now. The model is out right now. I'm not sure who's adapted it, but let me see if I can actually share this channel, or I will send you the link here. This is bonkers. Because so for a couple of years, I have seen videos where it's like an AI created this, and it's a 15-second clip, and it's like, that's pretty jank, but yeah, okay, I can see where that's going.
Is this the Will Smith eats French fries video?
It's not. Let me see. Find this. If this is the one, I will share it. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can put this up on the screen. Present. Share screen. Window. Okay, so if you want to add that up there.
Yep. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, it is a bit freaky.
So that is an AI, and here's the thing. This is not like, okay, so you went through the process of having an AI help you create. This is just like image prompting. Yeah. Someone put an image prompt, and the prompt was, a stylish woman walks down a Tokyo street filled with warm glowing neon and animated city signage. She wears a black leather jacket, a long red dress, and black boots.
I would like to point out the skin imperfections. I mean, that is something that you don't normally see AI do. That she actually looks like a human being. She doesn't look like she's plastic.
But the point is, this is a text prompt. Yeah. This is not special programming tricks. I mean, let me see if they've got their other popular video. Okay. Yeah, this prompt is historical footage of California during the gold rush. And I had Tim Imholt on Thursday night, and he works in this field a little bit. This looks like the opening to Paint Your Wagon. That is one prompt, and the computer pulled out all of this. Wow. So imagine, Dungeon Minister, you go in and you, at the prompt, give it all the details on the Honeywood gang.
Yeah. Oh, I would love that. Just type in.
You have a movie.
Pudgy Priest recounts game he played with kids. Boom.
You have a movie of what went on in the in your adventure to show off. And Jorge asks a question. He says, how much of that is created and how much is just a mix? I honestly don't know. I mean, all AI LLMs are trained on text. They fed dictionaries and encyclopedias and so on into ChatGPT. They fed, and this is a problem once you get beyond text. Is lots of people are up in arms over things you can do with image generation because there's artists who and I've done this before. I just to see, I've gone into the one of the image generators, and I said a dragon in a dungeon fighting warriors in the style of Errol Otis, and it produced a fairly competent aping of Errol Otis's art style. And if I'm Errol Otis or any other artist, I would be up in arms because it knows how to do that, because the programmer said, this is what Errol Otis art looks like, and fed it all of Errol Otis's images.
Right. Well, or it just has access to the internet. And,
which is
Errol
a scarier idea. That it's
which of course means it'll come back inaccurate half of the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's two separate things. I got into a slight Twitter spat with a gaming publisher just this week on this issue, and it's sort of mind-boggling to me when people are okay with just using AI straight up for publishing, for a few different reasons. But one is, it's really the style thing. If we were in a position where people could license their artwork or sell their artwork to one of these AI generators, and then people made an image from it, I wouldn't have a problem. But you're basically let's say Franz Frazetta, one of the great illustrators, painters of the 20th century. Now it can sort of replicate his work almost exactly. If he were still alive, he would be put out of business by this stuff that's using his work. And there's already a lot of copyright cases about you can't use a direct work that closely. So for example, there was a lady who used to paint portraits of people. And one guy was a photographer, and he discovered, wait, this lady's portrait is just my photograph. So he sued her, and at least in the US, the Supreme Court ruled it has to be substantially different when you're taking different art things. So this publisher this week, he went on this rant about how he's going to use AI in his work because rainbow-haired people, which is literally what he said. And he said, they're too expensive and I don't want to pay for them. So, to me, that says you're okay with the morality of you could just take whatever you want because it's quote unquote too expensive. And, he was all PO'd. I didn't use any profanity, but he came back with "you're an a-hole," which, yeah, it's true. But, he was like, well, I've used a lot of free clip art. Okay, well, free clip art isn't free. Somebody paid for somebody to make that clip art and then either sold it, or they're giving away some free clip art in the hopes as a loss leader that you will buy others of their clip art, which they'll earn a profit on. That's completely different. No one has a problem with that. And then he's like, well, I hire people for, covers and this and that. Well, good. That's what you should be doing. And he's like, I don't have much of a budget. My whole income is based on publishing and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I have sympathy that you're trying to make it, but is it morally correct to take from others in order to improve your own position because you don't like their politics? And this is the kind of guy who would complain about how the last few years, people on the other side of the political spectrum were keeping people like him out of mainstream publishing and from coming to cons and stuff. It's like, you're okay with that kind of stuff when it's for your quote unquote side. I mean, you have to pick whatever morality you like. And unfortunately, AI sort of brings it there. Yeah. And a lot of it to me just seems to be jealousy, because a lot of these people are like, well, I want to produce high quality books like Wizards of the Coast. And regardless of what you think about them as a company, until the recent, they are also using AI scandals. They were paying people money to paint in the style that they thought was good for their books, and their books had a lot of artwork in them. So if you want to compete with that, you got to put out a lot of money. So I don't know, just rambling a bit, but but it's a whole moral issue where I think as a society we need to set some parameters on what is acceptable and what is not to use AI legally, to use AI generated images for.
Sure. And I think with AI cinema, I feel like there's, from a user perspective, I think there's a lot of neat possibilities. Now, I saw this years ago. This was done by hand, but somebody did an absolutely frightening recut, edit, if you will. They used match moving and they used digital tools, and I would say it was 99% by hand. And it was Jim Carrey as Jack Torrance in The Shining when Wendy comes in and confronts Jack as he's doing she's like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. And he, of course, Jack is starting to crack at this moment. This is kind of the moment of departure of controlled flight when he starts yelling at Wendy for bothering him. And they match moved Jim Carrey's face on. They used, at the time, AI tools to do a lip flap matchup, and then some early vocal tools to mix Nicholson and Carrey's voice, and it was really good. And if you go back and say, Jim Carrey was Nicholson's age at the time, it would have been a fascinating match. Now, I know, Dungeon Minister, you a fan of Blade Runner, the film?
I am.
Okay. To get into the weeds, to the like deep lore, the first person that they had in mind for Rick Deckard was not Harrison Ford. No, you read the book. No, they were actually looking at Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Well, Rick
yeah. There's one where you're really like, which one is the replicant?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, imagine sitting down one day, you're bored on a Saturday, and you can type in a prompt, Blade Runner, but Dustin Hoffman plays Rick Deckard, and then 2 hours later, there's a ding, and you sit down and you watch the entirety of Blade Runner with Dustin Hoffman instead of Rick Deckard. On the one hand, as a fan of Blade Runner, as a fan of sci-fi, and a person who just likes neat things, I think that's super cool. If I'm Dustin Hoffman's agent and I know that Bill Sylvie is out there sharing this URL, hey, come watch Blade Runner, but it's got Dustin Hoffman in it, and I didn't make a dime and he didn't make a dime from doing that, I'm pretty pissed off, because how is it doing that? Well, it's pulling his likeness, it's pulling his voice, and Harrison Ford's people might also be up in arms, because like, wait a minute, we're not getting paid for the movie Blade Runner. So
yeah, and I mean, I think that's where you really get into the sticky issues there, because like you said, somebody's going to be making money off that. If you did it just for fun and you're not making money, that's one thing, but YouTube is going to make ad money on that, or whatever site you put it on, they're going to be making money.
Well, and let's go to the sort of obvious irony of that particular movie. Because
who's the human?
Who's the human? Where does the human creativity leave off, and the computer creativity or mimicry pick up? Because so maybe Dustin Hoffman never played that role, but he played so many roles that his gift of his persona, his presence, his voice is out there, and it can be analyzed to the point that we could assemble that, so is that still art because it relies on someone else's artistry, and without all of Dustin Hoffman's previous work, it couldn't exist? So has he actually, in a sense, played that without doing it? And it's Philip K. Dick didn't know it was coming. It couldn't even see it.
Yeah, this is the Buster Friendly and Friends show all over again. If you've read the book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," or any number of Philip K. Dick stories. I mean, guys, if you haven't read Philip K. Dick, put it on your summer reading list. Absolutely, get compilations of Philip K. Dick's work. You will not come out the other side unchanged. I promise you. You will either move to the countryside into a cabin with no electricity and start publishing manifestos, or you may be the robot. Check your inside for paper tape reels and magnetic pistons and stuff. You may be the robot if you read Philip K. Dick's work on what we're talking about right now and come out unchanged.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it could get worse. If anyone's seen the show Black Mirror, which is on Netflix, in the last season they had something like this where someone signed up for Netflix, their version of Netflix to view, and they clicked on a user agreement that said Netflix has the right to put them into shows. So, and then it was like this version of where she said something secretly, about somebody else at work, and then like all these rights activists got upset about it. And it was funny, but like, what if one day YouTube says, oh, this Dungeon Delver, he runs some good stuff. We're going to do a totally AI version of him running games.
Oh, thank God.
You could play in your own game.
Finally. No, go ahead, please.
But I mean, in all seriousness, that screws the people who would be making something creative, who would be doing something new. And, you could still do your thing, but there's no way with them promoting their channel versus yours that you would ever be able to catch up with them.
Yeah. I mean, if tomorrow Netflix was like, this guy puts his stuff out on the internet under the clause of fair use, we're going to make a generative AI that's going to make the castle occupant channel about Dungeons and Dragons, and it's literally just me ripped into AI under some bizarre fair use clause. They've got hundreds of millions of dollars worth of attorneys and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of studio power to just make me disappear like I never was, and
it brings up, I think, in a society, do you ever get to own the fruits of your labor? There is copyright law, and theoretically it should be protecting what you do, but it's so just, if you're a big corporation, you can abuse it and there's nothing people can do, and nothing anyone can do about it.
You could apply that to all of the laws as well.
Well,
this cyberpunk dystopia that William Gibson warned us about. It really is. There is a plot thread of Neuromancer, which that's another one. If you haven't read Neuromancer, the Sprawl trilogy, Neuromancer, Count Zero, and Mona Lisa Overdrive, they literally own an AI simulation made of a personality recording of a programmer. They own him. He's their property. It sits on a ROM cartridge in a storage locker, and the hacker Case has to arrange to retrieve that for later plot elements to unwrap. And that's where I fear that's where we're headed. I'm genuinely concerned that we're headed towards a state of things that we create. Dungeon Minister, Yang, myself, anyone out here in YouTube space, or anywhere else for that matter, are going to wake up one day and find out we've been virtualized. Yeah, Bill, your channel's gotten really super popular now. We don't need you anymore.
I gotta say, I think they're probably coming for PewDiePie before they come to me.
Unquestionably, but
digital Mr. Beast.
And I think that is well, I don't think, I know that is what largely fueled the SAG strike
Mhm.
Sure.
back last year. Is they were looking at this and like, just for funsies, I put David Bowie's voice through 11 Labs, which is an AI voice cloning tool, and I have a recording of David Bowie reading Robert E. Howard's Conan story, Tower of the Elephant. It sounds awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm never going to let anyone have it or listen to it, but it sounds amazing. And, David Bowie's estate, nobody gets that. Nobody gets a single farthing of that. I understand why they're afraid.
Yeah.
And now that things have kind of started to come to a head, audio, video, images, stories, what do we need you people for? I want a Star Wars trilogy sequel that doesn't suck.
I'm sorry, Bill, you can't do that.
Yeah.
With our diversity and
Sorry, Bill, I can't let you do that.
but the scarier thing to me, even than that, is when people search for stuff. Like right now, you would search for something like "How did Caesar get stabbed on the Ides of March?" Right, and you would read a text article, or maybe somebody's YouTube video would come up. But when does it start that Google will just bring up a on the spot generated AI video of it? And based on what we've seen from Google Gemini this week, do we trust them to portray that event accurately? So we're going to be in a whole state where the internet is almost useless for knowledge anymore, because you can't tell what is true from what's not true.
There was a conspiracy theory a few years ago called the dead internet theory that basically said like 75% of internet traffic was literally just bot programs. That's what we called them back from like 1989 until 2 years ago, was bot programs just talking to each other. Because like you can set up a website like Dungeon Minister, unless you include a robots.txt rule in the Claricon website, a whole bunch of your traffic is just bots coming to your website, scraping all the information off of it, and then moving on. And then it might put it elsewhere. And so the dead internet theory said that that's 75% of internet traffic, that real people are rare on the internet. And if you're active on Twitter, like I am, you'll see responses like, haha, yeah, great, inspiring.
Yeah, well, and always a strangely beautiful woman in her 20s.
Yes, I have approaching 4,000 followers on Twitter. I would guarantee you that a tenth or more of them are literally just bots. In fact, for a while, I was engaging the bots via private message. It's like, Shane McGiggles has subscribed to you. There's the PFP is a pretty woman. There's no background image, or it's a generic stock photo. And so I'd go in chat and I'd send them a direct message and say, hey, what is it about classic Dungeons and Dragons that you like so much? And of course, I never hear anything because there's a robot sitting there that's attended once every 6 months by someone working for the Chinese Ministry of Intelligence. So I'm not going to hear it, but it's kind of funny. But to answer your question, to come back around, I feel like that is a big danger. That is a huge danger, Yang, because we're going to hit a point where, again, so you type in, I don't know, God, what can I say that won't get Dungeon Minister demonetized? Well, you've got a $20 super in there. That should cover the views.
Like, you can't think of something that isn't going to get you in trouble.
Well, demonetized from YouTube can take many forms, But you say, okay, the assassination of the leader of the North American Federation of Associated Small Independent Countries, because if I say the other thing, that would potentially get us flagged, in the year 1865. Well, you know, from what we've seen from Gemini and everything else, it might show you a video clip and the person in question is wearing a red baseball cap with a 4-word phrase on it.
Yeah.
And so the popular perception is someone who follows that ethos is the person who did it. And then it becomes the truth.
Yeah.
And if you say, that's not what happened, this guy, his political bent was like this, they're just going to say, haha, that's nice, Grandpa. Let's roll you into the day room where you can get some sun. You know, you wound up sounding like Heston at the end of Soylent Green.
It was, yeah. Have you ever read Umberto Eco's book, Baldolino?
I haven't. It's on my list.
It's about this sort of thing in historic terms and talking about, you know, lies that became reality. So the letter of Prester John. Prester John, this great saint, sends this letter from his kingdom saying, oh, my kingdom is better than yours. It's huge. It's magnificent. We have all this stuff. And then from then on, there was this, in the imagination of European explorers, was this Prester John. And there's this Christian kingdom out there on the other side of the Islamic world. And we've got to get to it, you know, and that was driving a lot of exploration. Of course, they get there and then they do actually find Ethiopia, a Christian kingdom on the other side of the Islamic world from Europe. And it wasn't fabulous and powerful and wealthy, but there it was. So it was almost like, you know, the fraud unintentionally led to something, but it created history. It created, you know, things that actually did happen from a lie. So, yeah, you get a piece of AI produced history that claims that, you know, that the South won the Civil War, or the, you know, and then people react based off that. The lie may be a lie, but their reaction is real, and so the lie creates reality. It's a dangerous loop. I'm looking forward, though, to the time when the AI-produced artwork and movies, etc., are now being scraped by AI to make more things, and to see how long it takes for the uncanny valley to widen to the point where it's obvious. You know?
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, because there's already a problem with AI where it's getting worse and worse, the progressive generations. So there was a problem with ChatGPT where lawyers started using it to cite cases in their motions. And so what happened is something went wrong with ChatGPT and it just started making cases up. So there was one lawyer, you know, he was submitting documents like, oh, well, the precedent for letting my client go is in this case here and that one there. And the judge looked it up and he's like, yo, what the F is this? You just submitted a bunch of crap. You know, so either he should be disbarred for lying, or he should be disbarred for doing such a crappy job for his client.
For criminal idiocy.
And generative AI will just make things up in lieu of telling you, I don't know what that is. All of us as nerds have tried D&D stuff with generative AI. I asked it when I was like, literally just curious. I was like, hey, do you know first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons? Ah, yes. And it cited a very generic, bland, you could have gotten this from the mobile version of Wikipedia, you know, tells me when the first 3 books came out, very basic stuff. I said, great, cool. You know the ins and outs of it and the particulars of it. I sure do. Ask me a specific question and I'll be happy to help you. Give me the monster manual entry for kobolds. And it created a monster manual like entry. If you look in the monster manual, you know how it goes down the line. and it just like 2 hit dice, and then it said they were 2 hit dice monsters, and it threw in like a bunch of 5e-isms for like, they have they get advantage dice when attacking, and I'm like, no, dear. First edition advanced edition. I'm sorry, you're right. I did that wrong. And it generates it again.
Yeah.
Same Drek, but in a different way. And it just bald faced said, this is what you asked for, and this is what I know is it. It's not lying in the sense that there is a consciousness behind it going, I wish to mislead this person. I have desires to mislead this person. All it's doing is going on broken data sets and trying its best to concatenate those, which if you go back a few years, I see this less and less now. Nowadays, most of the time, if you ask AI to generate a picture of a person, you won't get 10 fingers. You won't get 96 teeth or, eyes that it's like the iris is over here, but the pupil's down here kind of thing.
I thought you were going to say that the AI didn't know how to calculate 2-hit armor class 0.
Well, nobody needs that anyway, but
THAC0 is hard.
THAC0 is pointless. I have tables. I have charts. I have a whole screen right here with everything I need printed on it. Anyway, bullies. I'm being bullied. You guys see how I'm being cyber bullied here by these AIs? But anyhow,
What?
Yang doesn't have any hair because he needs to keep the computer in there solar powered, guys.
That's right. Hair is too high resolution for me. I'd have to get the upgrade package.
It would just be the individual sets of polygons with a hair texture on them.
Yeah. Which sorry, slightly off topic, but if anybody has seen the show Download, which is on Amazon Prime, it's hilarious. It's about when people die, before you die, they can download your brain into like a hard drive, and then they put you into like an online retirement home. And that's exactly what happens. Like some people are in low res because they can't afford anything else, or they only get like 2 gigs of data a month. So then like if they use it up by the 10th, your afterlife is frozen for the next 20 days until you hit the next month. And it's Black Mirror-esque, but it's hilarious. Highly recommended. Download.
I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds pretty good. So I think we can say that AI is a mixed benefit at best.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does have legitimate uses. And even if we want to go back to like, working with games, like I don't think anybody's got a problem with you using AI to generate images for tokens that you use in your home game, or art that you're using in a home game. It becomes a little bit more questionable, like when you are going to profit from this. At what point are you taking from somebody else to enrich yourself? And I think that's, as a society, we sort of need to figure out where that line lies.
Yeah. I agree. And I mean, I've never shied away from saying this because I do get people. I say, "Hey, where do you get your thumbnails for your videos? That's a cool looking cartoon." And I'm like, AI prompt, because I generally I live stream 99% of what I do, or the interstitial videos I do. It's like, "Hey, Bill, did you hear that Wizards of the Coast is releasing a 5e module called Kick a Puppy?" What? So I got to make a video on that right away. I got to jump on that. So I get the news, I shoot the video. Rarely is there ever an edit in there. And then I put it up, and then there's a thumbnail. The thumbnail is there to catch somebody's eye, so they'll click on the video and watch the video. I'm not putting it up there for like, this is what you should always see. This is what you should think about when you think about my video. This is what you should think about when you think about my video, and the sound of my voice and the information I'm conveying, whether it's in a live stream or an interstitial. But if I was producing, say, 2 videos a week of 30 minutes and so on and etc., and I was a much bigger YouTuber, I would pay somebody to make thumbnails for me. But for me, for my videos, they're about as artistically important as a gum wrapper. I just need something to visually catch people's eye on YouTube, a brightly colored image that somebody's going to look at and go, Delver's got a new video out. And then click on it, So that's where I am with AI art. I won't use it in modules and stuff that I do, just because if I'm going to make money, then I feel like I should spread it around a little bit and share some with artists.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also the prospect of making money using someone else's art who has, already done the work and isn't going to get paid for its use.
Yeah.
Because it's been scraped off of something else, right?
I would love to have Errol Otis's art on one of my module projects. I'm not going to go into any of the image generators and say, give me 2 people fighting a dragon in the style of Errol Otis so I can get that look. I'm not going to do that. That's stealing from Errol.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. People can get up my nose about it if they want. That is theft from Errol. And that is the end of my rant about AI.
Oh, very good. Let's see. I'm going to show you. I quick went over to an AI and got you kick a puppy. That's what comes back. Kick a puppy.
Well, good. If you try to kick a puppy, that's what should happen to you. That puppy should go full channeling divine energy and burning your leg off.
Does that puppy have 3 legs, or is that something else?
That's its tail. I think that's his tail back there.
Yeah, I think one leg is kicking. The front leg is kicking, and so I think it's sort of like a football. Okay. It's a football kicker pose. I don't know.
Okay. I like that your AI prompt thought he needed a flaming sword too. That was
well, if you're going to kick him, he wants to be able to fight back.
Right on, man. Right on. Like I said, channel some divine revenge. But talking of stuff, I thought this was interesting. So, do you guys AMC theaters are up in Canada, right? Dungeon Minister, AMC theater.
No, I don't know. I think mostly it's what is it called? Cineplex.
Cineplex.
Silver Screen is part of that. There's a bunch of them that's actually all the same company. I don't know if it's AMC or not. I have no idea.
So my wife was checking her AMC points. It's a frequent shopper card for AMC. Right. And she had all of these messages in her AMC account inbox. And so she's like, hey, March 7th, AMC is doing a showing of Labyrinth. Do you want to get tickets? Do you want to go? And I was like, absolutely. Or March 6th, rather. But yeah, absolutely, I want it. And so as she's clicking through these, there's all of these movies that she starts telling me about that they're doing showings of. What was it? I think Young Frankenstein. Nice. White Christmas, 1954 White Christmas, the 70th anniversary. We're going to go see that December 15th. We bought the tickets today. But there were like 4 or 5 movies that we got sets of tickets for today from now until the end of the year. And we may see other stuff that's coming in, but I think it's telling that some bean counter sees enough profit in putting on movies. I mean, we've got a deluxe DVD of White Christmas. We've got, I bought her a Dark Crystal box set when it came out. I've got Young Frankenstein. We've got all of these on DVD. Somebody in the head office at AMC or at the movie theaters that owns these sees enough money in these to re-release them. And that's right, Jorge. Put the Kindle back. Somebody sees enough profit in these older movies that they're willing to put them in these slots. And like, I think Young Frankenstein is this summer. A 50-year-old Mel Brooks comedy is releasing in the summer, at least in AMC in a limited release. I don't know. Do you guys think that like Hollywood's out of ideas officially now?
I think they are licking their wounds. They've been stung so many times. They're just like, here, have this stuff. We know you like that. And then they're running back to the back room to try to gin up something new.
Well, there's a couple of things. One is, they've kind of been doing this for years because 4 or 5 years ago, I saw not all, but most of the Studio Ghibli movies in the theater. They were re-releasing them. And it was fantastic. I think, so there's, I'll mention this one, then I'll get to my other point, but I think that in terms of what people want to do and can afford, I think that there is a lack of entertainment. Concerts are getting too expensive to go to. You're going to spend $100 going out to dinner if you have 2 to 3 people. Things are just getting way too expensive, but going to a movie is a nice way to get out. I mean, especially if you're not buying their like $18 popcorns. It's a nice way to go out. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, in addition to the movie theater stuff, just this week, it has come out that shows from the 70s, 80s, and 90s on streaming platforms are more popular than modern shows coming out on regular TV or even streaming shows. Like people would rather watch the old Hawaii Five-0 than most of the stuff on Netflix.
Yeah, I would honestly, if damn it, if Amazon would stop randomly making seasons of Magnum PI behind a paywall, I would be as happy as a clam. I love Magnum PI. It is better than pretty much any other detective kind of show that I have seen before, with a possible exception of Simon and Simon, which was on the same channel, and they had a few crossover episodes. So
I'm a Columbo guy, but okay.
Yeah, Columbo. Falk was amazing, man. But yes, I'm gonna put on my old man yells at cloud hat here for a second and say straight up, yes, that old stuff is better. It really, really is. And
no, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the fact that the leading movie studio in the United States, or a movie theater company and movie studios are willing to lean on each other to put 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old movies into limited run circulation during at least one of them peak movie hours. I think that, like Dungeon Minister says, I think they've fallen back and they're licking their wounds. Hey, you guys remember Young Frankenstein? That's funny. You'll watch that, right? Right?
Yeah. I mean, specifically with the movie theaters, I think there's another problem too, is that in the late 90s and 2000s, they went on a huge building spree of new theaters. And before, if you remember when we were younger, a theater that had like 5 screens, we would have thought was huge. But all of a sudden, they're building these stadiums with theaters that have like 20 different theaters in them. Right. So the problem now is the movies they're making are such crap. Like you can't have 5 screens showing a new Star Wars movie because you can't even fill one theater full of them. So they got to do something else with this real estate. And I think somebody in I don't know if it's in the movie theater chains or if it's in Hollywood, but basically this is just extra money for Hollywood because they've already paid for the product. Things are delivered digitally these days. They don't have to make up new film prints. So doing stuff like White Christmas in a theater is just extra money. It's just gravy, and it's a way for the theater companies to fill up their theaters. But I think there's potentially a bigger problem, and that's for those of us who are old enough to remember the 70s and the 80s. In the 70s, you would be hard pressed to find Japanese cars in North America. But because the big auto manufacturers in Detroit, they kept making crap people didn't want, Japanese cars were able to come in, and they own the markets now.
The other thing was they were small and there was a gas.
Right. Well, that's because, Ford could have made a lot smaller cars. Yeah. GM could have made a lot smaller cars. They just didn't want to. Yeah. And so I think that's what we're starting to see with a lot of the entertainment too. In comic books, the North American made comics are like 7% of the market. Most of it is Japanese manga. If you look at cartoons, there are very few American made cartoons. People are watching Japanese anime. If you look at Netflix shows, some of the biggest shows are from South Korea. Even their reality shows, people would rather watch Koreans like go to an island and be in love than Americans go to an island and be in love. So I think we're starting to see a big shift where we've in the North America anyways, we've so deadened our own cultures and they've turned deaf ears to what people really want to see, that now all these foreign markets who make these kind of things, all their stuff comes on over.
Yeah. And I mean, why not? And you talk about the Japanese car. I had a Honda Civic, a two-door Honda Civic DX, 1997, 4 on the floor, power nothing. Even the windows you had to crank down. I loved that car. I drove it till it couldn't drive anymore. It was made in Tennessee. The car was built in Tennessee, in the United States. I hurt buying that car here because they outdid us. It's simple as that. They outdid us, and they did it in a way that wouldn't get their car lots vandalized and so on. I feel like go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And I was just going to say, and further to that point, they did it in such a way that the U.S. government said, we have to put a stop to this or we will lose the auto industry once and for all. And that's why there's auto plants in Tennessee. It's not that the Japanese wanted to, it's that the government was putting on such a high tariff that they said, okay, it's more cost effective to hire Americans. So, I mean, it's not that they outdid us a little bit. They outdid us a lot.
They outdid us a lot. So that asks the questions. Will we see Korean reality TV being produced in Oregon, manga being drawn in Texas, anime being animated here in Florida?
Well, we already saw the flip of it. I mean, a lot of the cartoons from the 80s were made in Japan, like Inspector Gadget. That was entirely done in Japan. It's not in any way Japanese style. But the studio was there. They were just doing a North American style cartoon. Now they brought a whole bunch of North American cartoonists over there to direct the work, but the hands-on gritty bit of cell-by-cell animation was largely Japanese.
The film that got me into fantasy, that got me into reading The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, was the 1978 Rankin Bass release of The Hobbit. The entire production crew was a company called Topcraft. Well, producing The Hobbit cost Topcraft more money than they got paid by Rankin Bass. They collapsed, and they immediately reincorporated as Studio Ghibli. The Hobbit is a Studio Ghibli production. But that's just backing up what Dungeon Minister said, though. You go watch The Hobbit. You're seeing stuff animated by Hayao Miyazaki and company. So yeah, it's this interesting, almost tidal cycle of, going out and then coming back in. But to go back to the point about entertainment, they're finally waking up to the fact that we just wanted to be left alone to watch good movies and enjoy good things.
Yeah.
At least I hope they are finally waking up to that.
Hopefully. I mean, I've even seen a bunch of change at Netflix. Just in the past year, the Yu Yu Hakusho adaptation was pretty good. To get back to the show, Dungeon Minister hasn't seen Avatar: The Last Airbender was fairly decent. The adaptation of One Piece, I couldn't stand it, but everybody who likes that the manga or the cartoon, they love that show. So it kind of seems like they're backing off from where they were with just a year or two ago with something like Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
I don't even know the original, but I heard the fallout, and it was painful.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop was pretty rough, and they I know I don't watch One Piece either, Yang, but I know for a fact that the showrunner is the creator of One Piece, and when they started saying, "Ooh, well, let's do that. Let's make this change. Let's have the male lead and the female lead finally get together. We can do that." But rather than as they did with the live action of Cowboy Bebop, where they just made changes willy-nilly, they went to the creator of the manga and said, "Can we introduce these changes?" And yeah, the manga's creator was like, "Absolutely not. That's not my direction. That's not my vision. That's not how this is to be." And they said, "Okay, guys, we're not doing that. We're not doing that." He said, "No, we're not doing it." And so
there was a little bit of difference there because he actually had a clause in his contract where he had final approval over everything. So that was what they came up against. He's like, "Nope, in the contract," and they're already millions of dollars into pre-production. It's like, oh, well, I guess we got to listen to this guy. But unfortunately, it's very few creators who actually get to have that authority. The only other one I can really think of is J.K. Rowling. She had the reason why there were no Americans in the original Harry Potter series is because she's like, no, Harry was not in America. He's in the UK. They have to be UK actors.
What was it? There's a famous story about the North American release of one of the more fanciful Studio Ghibli productions that was a specific piece by Miyazaki, and Miyazaki, it was going to be released in the States, and was it Harvey Weinstein or Bob Iger? I can't remember, but they kept insisting, like, American audiences aren't going to get this. We need to cut this. Look, you can seamlessly cut this. They will not miss this. And allegedly, Miyazaki mailed a katana to him.
Yeah.
Mailed him a katana with a parchment label attached to the pommel that in Japanese characters and underneath it in English said "no cuts."
Yeah, that's a true story, and the reason is because his first film, well, not his first film, but his first film for Studio Ghibli was Nazca Valley of the Wind, and they cut that to crap in the 80s.
Oh yeah,
and that's
thank you, Mirkir.
And that's why for years and years there was never any other Studio Ghibli films here. Like Totoro didn't come out right away, or any of that sort of age, because he's like, nope, they cut my film so bad, no more.
Streamline did Castle of Cagliostro, but I'm not sure about where it falls in the timeline.
Father, that was technically his first.
Okay,
that was before Studio Ghibli.
Oh, okay. Have the boys seen Castle of Cagliostro, Father?
I haven't seen it.
You have got to watch that with the boys. That is a fun adventure movie. It is. I words fail me. Watch a few clips on YouTube. I think that is a family movie par excellence. The good
Cagliostro?
guys win. Castle of
Mhm.
Cagliostro. I will type it in the chat. Everyone, go see Castle of Cagliostro. Watch it, rent it, whatever.
Yeah, it's a Lupin the Third film.
Lupin the Third, yeah.
Lupin the Third.
While everyone is going to check out that, I'll just show you the other Kick a Puppy. It seems like it's more of a buddy film.
It's
Yeah.
that's a lot more wholesome. A lot more wholesome.
They're gonna go kick something together. It's more
Yeah, exactly. That's it, man.
buddy film. I had the hardest time, just in house, just for our own entertainment. I was trying to come up with a picture of Touchberry facing off against a white dragon, and it just would not give me a halfling and a dragon that were like, I couldn't get the halfling over the back looking at the dragon like you're behind, like the cover of the
Mhm.
Beckme basic book. He wanted to show a buddy picture, so there you go.
But that is adorable. Save that image. That is too cute, man.
Yeah.
Be on the
That should be
cover
the
of
thumbnail for this.
I like the idea. I love it. Dungeon ministers in the middle, and Yang and I as canines running along with him. That's adorable.
So Castle of Cagliostro.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
I believe it was made back in the late 70s.
Yeah, it's like
79.
70. Yes, 79. I didn't see it
Yeah.
till 1990. I got it I got the VHS of it from Streamline.
Oh.
So the dub, a lot of people bitch about the dub. I think the dub is fine. It's not like the situation with dubbing now, which we're kind of coming up on time, or else I'd rant about localizations. That's a whole can of worms, what's going on in localizations right now. But we can perhaps save that for March.
Very good. Very good. Well, as what is our time? What are we at? Oh,
We're bumping up on
25.
90 minutes. Yeah.
okay. Well, so before we do all turn back into mice or whatever happens to us after that period, are there any quick topics that we want to hit, that we want to smack down? Any cultural issues we want to solve, world problems we want to smooth out? The answer is no. Okay, good.
I can't think of any.
Yeah, no.
All right. Dune movie coming out soon. Dune
Oh,
2,
yeah.
the rest of
How you
Dune.
doing?
Yeah. Hi, Dune.
How you doing?
Dune.
How you doing? Hey, Yang, how you doing?
I have read that it is that I've read polar opposite reviews. One, that it is it delves deep into relationships and it's very thoughtful, and the other one is that it's just doesn't know what it's doing. It's a movie without any purpose. So I've read both reviews, so I don't know what to think. I'm gonna go see it one way or the other because I'm emotionally invested now, having watched the first one. But are you planning to see the rest of Timothee's take on Paul Atreides?
I have not seen the first part. I was going to wait till both were out. So, I thought maybe I would catch. I love that. I absolutely love that. Me, how you doing?
How you doing?
But I will probably catch them both. I personally think the surreal artistry, the badness of the 1984 version that laps around and comes back to being good, for me, is really what I want out of a Dune film production. It is completely it takes itself seriously enough that it is not gonzo and over the top. The only person being gonzo and over the top at the time was Sting.
Yes, and that character can take it.
Yeah. Fade. If you're going to kind of adjust Fade, then that's a perfectly cromulent take to have. So I have the nice box set that's got the 4-hour director's cut of it. But yeah, I will probably check it out after the second one drops. I'll catch it on streaming or something. But I'm not going to go park my butt in a theater for almost 3 hours for the back half of somebody else's view of Dune.
I've never been a big Dune person, but I did enjoy the first movie. I thought it played out pretty well, other than a few problems I have with most sci-fi movies, like the Atreus family. They're from like the happy foresty water planet.
Yeah,
where
the entire planet.
Like, how is it all like that?
Yeah,
it's the Star Wars. It's the Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
This planet's a desert, and I will say this: slight spoilers if you haven't read Dune. Herbert at least did a little bit of homework in his in-universe mechanism. It's not super magic-y and hand-wavy. He actually gets into the appendices of the book Dune, and like Tolkien explains why things work that way in Middle-earth. Just finished rereading Lord of the Rings. About to start Forestera's Fate by Lightmane. I can't wait to start reading that. Yeah, Tolkien explains why languages, lineages, that sort of thing. Herbert does the same thing in Dune, and he explains at least why Arrakis is completely desertified, yet still habitable. Like, it's not like a hell world like Venus is in our solar system, which logically you would think that it should be. But he has mechanisms that are not like, well, an evil wizard did it, that work in universe for Arrakis, but not so much for the pole-to-pole forest temperate planet of where the Atreides were.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's all I got.
Very good. Very good. Well, I have nothing more. Seeing as I didn't even know we were doing this. I forgot we were doing this. So my homework was I was making hot dogs, and I get a text from Bill like, "Hey, what are we doing this?" So, yeah. So everyone, go, and I'm going to point in the right direction. Go and check out Mr. Yang's channel. Go and check out Mr. Delver's Mr. Delver's channel. And
go and check out the Dungeon Minister's channel and Yang's channel.
And I'm actually going to throw both of those, because I can do links in the chat.
Yes, you can.
Nice.
Links to both of their channels in the chat there. If you aren't already subbed, please do go and sub. And if we get, as I said, if we get the Delver to 10,000, he's going to host an in-person con. And if we get Yang to, what's your next number? Your next landmark number there, Yang?
Well, I just hit 612 today, so
Woo-hoo!
More than 612. That's the.
Okay, so 1,000. If we get Yang to 1,000, he will grow a full head of hair. That's what.
I think getting me to 10,000 will probably be easier, but
I'll just start wearing wigs.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
I'll get some nice William Shatner hair.
Oh,
why is she so upset? William Shatner hair. Anyway, hey. Everyone have a good day. I'm going to go wash my own mouth out with soap. And see you around the dunes.
Peace to everybody.